Welcome back, or welcome if you're new to my channel. My name is Shannon and we're talking all about ruling planets. If you've missed my other videos, I talk about Venus and Mars, and I also talk about Mercury and Jupiter in my last two videos. I'll probably put that link somewhere in this video or maybe in the description box below, but let's just get right into it. Today's ruling planets of focus are the Moon and Saturn. So let's start with the Moon. Okay, I'm so sorry guys. I know it's really dark right now, but it just randomly started torrential downpouring, so this video is probably going to be a bit of a mess, but you know, what are we gonna do? Make lemonade out of lemons. Anyway, back to what I was saying about the Moon. I was talking about how the Moon rules over emotions, even emotions that you can't even explain or really understand, which is why I mentioned that it rules over things like, I think I wrote it down, habitual behaviors and prejudices, which is very true. I thought that was a great explanation, because things like racism and all of that, it's just like, why do you feel the way that you feel? Does this really make sense? So I kind of understand it when people are saying that the Moon is the irrational one while the Sun is rational, because feelings can definitely be irrational. But I think it all depends on who's carrying those feelings and those emotions. How much have you grown? Because quite honestly, from my personal experience, a person who knows how to control their emotions and knows how to actually convey and express their emotions to many different types of people carry a lot of power. That's how I see it. And a lot of the times it carries a lot of rationality. When you really understand how you feel, which is why the Moon is so important, your moon sign, when you really start to understand how you feel, you're unstoppable. You start to understand how to control it, and therefore you almost can control your environment and your situations. So that's that on that. And as far as the sign that the Moon rules over, it is Cancer, my fellow water sign. Woot woot. Now, I could talk about Cancers forever. Low-key, I could create an entire Cancer page, because that's how many Cancers I've had in my life, how many Cancers have come into my life, changed my life. And honestly, it was a Cancer who transformed me into this woman that I have become today. You know, he's not the main reason, but he definitely helped me. But long story short, yeah, I think the number one thing that people always hear about when they hear about Cancers is that they're super emotional, and it's because they are ruled by the Moon. And since the Moon is always changing, their moods are always changing, hence why they are so moody, which is one of their downfalls. But let's talk about their ups. They are extremely intuitive, very emotional in a good way, not just a bad way. They're super giving, like they will give you the shirt off their back type of giving. And they are just really nurturing, really mothering. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, both genders or however you identify. If you're a Cancer, you give off that motherly feel. They're also like artistic and imaginative, I'll say that. And on their negatives, as I already mentioned, they can be extremely moody, but moody to the point where it's constant projection. Cancers who are unevolved are really good at projecting their emotions they don't understand onto others. They are also really good at holding grudges while also still caring for you, because it can be really confusing with Cancers. Like, they'll really be mad at you and still like give you things and still take care of you. But the only downside of that is that it's kind of manipulative. They can be very manipulative, like all the other water signs. Like, if they're unevolved, they can manipulate you in that way, like give you all these things even when they know deep down you don't deserve it, just to throw it back in your face later on when you get into an argument. They're big on holding grudges, and clingy. Did I say that already? They can be really clingy. That's another downside of them, because they give their all, which is fine, but because they're so family oriented and all about the home, they tend to engross themselves in it too much, to the point where they're not even, they don't have a life of their own. That's not good. That's not healthy. They can neglect themselves. That's not good. That's not healthy. So I think that's all I have to say about the moon in Cancer. Now let's head on over to Saturn. For the ruling planet of Saturn, Saturn represents our boundaries and our limitations, our restrictions. Saturn, I have a lot of it on my chart. I have a very serious personal relationship with Saturn, okay? Saturn is pretty much the authority figure, aka the daddy of the zodiac, like the real father, like the strict father that is on your shoulder, making sure you're crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's. Like, that is Saturn, okay? And of course I had to just slightly mention Saturn retrograde, because especially for most of my followers who are around my age, millennials, a lot of us millennials are in that Saturn retrograde phase, and I don't want to get too much into Saturn retrograde. That deserves a whole video on its own, because it is that meaty. But Saturn return is pretty much that age in your life between 27 and 30 where Saturn the planet is telling you to get your shit together. Become an adult. It's time to be an adult. You now have the chance to either get it together and fix up all this mess so that you can become the person that you are meant to be, so that you can have some purpose in your life, or fall by the wayside and I'm just gonna come back around for your next Saturn return and beat that ass. That's pretty much what Saturn is and what Saturn represents. What else? Because, you know, of course I had to write things down for this as well, because Saturn is it's a lot. It represents structure and meaning. I think I mentioned boundaries, responsibilities, commitment. That's another part of Saturn return. Not only are you being asked to grow up, you're being asked to commit to things. You're being asked to decide on a future, pretty much. Decide on a purpose. And that's all that I wrote as far as the planet itself and what it represents. I'm currently going through my Saturn retrograde, and it's not as scary as people think. With all retrogrades, and returns, I said retrograde. With all retrogrades and returns, it's important to know that if you're already doing the work on yourself and you're already in that headspace of trying to like progress, these returns and these retrogrades aren't gonna really be that hard for you. Like, I naturally am introspective and I self-reflect all the time, so I haven't been like dying. I've been prepared for this. But for somebody who's not really paying attention, doesn't understand what's going on, or it's just kind of lollygagging through life, you're going to have these really intense moments, usually when we're having retrogrades and returns on our charts, and have no way to go. It's going to be pure confusion for you, and maybe scary depending on how bad your demons actually are, such as artists like Kurt Cobain and Amy Winehouse, Jimi Hendrix, there's just a few, Janis Joplin, if you know who that is. Just a few people who were stars and were going through their return and passed away during their return because it was just that intense, and they just didn't have a grip or a handle on their foundation, or they didn't even have a foundation, you feel me? And as far as the sign that Saturn rules over, it is Capricorn. And Capricorn is my north node. I have Capricorn all over my chart as well. Not all over, I have a lot on my chart. Mostly air. Capricorns are the hardest working sign in the zodiac. I know I said Virgos are really hard working, and that's why I admire them, because they're pretty similar to me in how they are hard workers, a little bit more quiet. But Capricorns, even if they are quiet in the workspace, their work speaks for itself. You're always gonna know that Capricorn, okay? Because they are extremely ambitious. They're good with money, if they're mature and evolved. They are ambitious. What else did I write? They have like a take charge attitude with a bit of sarcastic ability. They can be classy, and overall, in my general experience of Capricorns, I've noticed that there are like two different types of Capricorns. There's the Capricorn that is really hardworking, super responsible, basically the evolved Capricorn. The Capricorn that's got their ish together, knows where they're headed in life, they see it, they want it, they get it, that type. Or messy, like no direction, doesn't, like, it seems like everything in their life just doesn't really go right because they don't really have a focus, because they're ruled by Saturn, and Saturn's telling them literally every single day, get it together, like what are you doing? So I can only imagine how stressful it must be to be a Capricorn, to have that constant pressure on you every single day to work and to do something, to make something of yourself, to have a purpose. And as far as the negatives of a Capricorn, they can be too serious. A lot of them fall into melancholy or depression. And I hate to say, I don't even want to say that's on the negative. That's just like, that's a thing. And that comes with the territory of constantly feeling like you gotta be successful. So a lot of them fall into that, into sadness and depression, because they don't really deal with their emotions or their feelings. Just like Cancers, they too can hold grudges, and they can be overly critical. Yeah. In a different way than Virgos. Like a Virgo will see something and they'll pick it apart, versus a Capricorn is all like, this isn't good because you didn't do it exactly like me. Or like, or no, I shouldn't say that. That's a Virgo thing. Capricorn is more like, you didn't work as hard as me, therefore you didn't deserve it. That's Capricorn energy for sure. They can also be a little bit suspicious. I have no idea why, but they tend to be suspicious. But they're really good about it. Instead of being like Scorpio suspicious, where I don't trust anyone, it's more of a, I'll trust you until you prove that you do not deserve to be trusted. That's their take on it. Now let's talk about the sister sign relationship. The sister sign relationship between Cancer and Capricorn. This should be very easy and simple because I'm only focusing on them versus how I had like 2 and 2 in the other videos. I'm always focusing on how they're really different, and I think at this time it's extremely obvious. It's once again more of like a feminine versus masculine energy, like how the Venus and Mars video was. The moon is the mother and Saturn is the father, the authority figure. So I want to focus more so on what they have in common versus what they have different, because I'm realizing more and more as I'm getting deep into astrology how similar the sister signs really are. I mean, I've been noticed it, but I'm just gonna go on that take versus what I think a lot of people see, which are the strong comparisons or contrast or whatever. You know what I'm saying. Like the first thing that they have in common with each other is family life, how they appreciate it, strive for it and respect it, the traditional roles. Cancers, they're all about nurturing and having family and all about the feels of family, whereas Capricorns, Cancer, I'm gonna keep messing that up, whereas Capricorns, it's all about legacy, it's all about responsibility, building a legacy, building a foundation, leaving something behind to be remembered for. That's another thing they have in common. A lot of the times Capricorns and Cancers give a lot. People will say that Capricorns are cold, but that's just like an exterior thing. They're actually extremely giving to their families, one, and to people in general in their life that they care about, two. So if you're a friend of a Capricorn and they're giving to you, like, consider yourself lucky and special, because they don't just give out their love like that. A Cancer, they see, that's like a difference between them. A Cancer will give out their love like that for the most part, but yeah, both of them are extremely giving, almost to a fault, because a lot of their identity is tied to or wrapped around what they can give others and how they can serve others in order for others to love them back, when they don't really need to do all that in order to have people love them back. And if they do, then they need to walk away. I hate seeing Capricorns and Cancers overextend themselves to people who are undeserving, even if it's me. Like, don't give to people that are undeserving. Always make people earn it. Because like I was saying earlier, Cancer will be quick to throw something in your face, and Capricorns are also good at that too. Another similarity between them. Well, they'll do for you and something bad happens in the relationship, throws it right back into your face. But nobody told you to do that. Nobody forced you to do that. You know, just different things like that. And what else do they have in common? I would say emotions, but what's the point of stating the obvious? A Capricorn has a poker face. A Cancer, they're like, their face is literally on their sleeve. Not just their heart with their face. Actually, their face and then their hands with the heart in it, that's on their sleeve. And what else do they have in common? Cancer and Capricorn. That's all I can come up with for now. But yeah. So that's all I got for you guys for right now. Go into your chart if you want to. You already know about moon signs, or at least I feel like most people at this point should know about moon signs. If you don't know your moon sign, please figure it out, because it's gonna help you. And if you want to know more about like your work life, about your responsibilities, where you're headed, about the 10th house that Saturn rules over, look into all of that in order to understand what you need to do in your work and career life to find purpose and meaning. Okay, and I think that's all, guys. Once again, I'm really sorry about this lighting. I probably should have waited to do this, but my hair was all done, makeup done. Like, no. I don't want to wait. This is kind of cool, like kind of cute and cozy, like we're in a campfire. I don't know. So, you know, whatever. I hope to see you again in my next video. Please tune in. Don't allow this lighting to turn you away.